This is Michael with Bike Friday, and I'm here to show you a few tips for fitting a rack onto a particular bike. The reason that it's important to fit a rack is because there's different components on every bike that we sell, and depending on what components you've chosen, the rack will need to fit a little bit differently. This particular bike has a rear disc brake caliper, which creates a little bit of a clearance issue for this bike. So we're going to end up using some longer bolts and standoff spacers in order for this rack to fit on this bike. So the first step for fitting this rack is to gently widen the stays. Now, I'd be able to install this bike even if I didn't do any of the fitting, but this will ensure that it's easier as I install and remove the rack for travel, easier each time to avoid cross-threading bolts and avoid any damage to the rack. So this one-time fitting process will just make it easier to install and remove in the future. So for this bike, I'm gently widening just beyond the spring point. I'll cold set that so that the stays have room for the spacers I'm going to use. Now, because I've done that, the eyelets that the bolt go through are flared out a little bit. So the tool to use to adjust that is an adjustable wrench, and I will fit that over the end and adjust it down tight, and then holding onto the rack, holding onto the wrench, gently bend it into a parallel plane with the eyelet on the frame. If you're concerned about scratching the powder coat during this step, use a clean rag. And the same thing is true. Just tighten that adjustable wrench down and then bend it to a parallel plane to the surface of the eyelet on the frame. So now I'll be able to slide that bolt through, put the spacer on, and I'm not fighting the rack to find a position where the bolt is perpendicular and not going to want to cross thread. I still want to guide that bolt and ensure that I'm not cross threading, but it's so much easier than before the fitting to guide that right in. So you do that to both sides, and give us a call if you have any questions. We'll be happy to help. All right, thanks.